What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Wizards Latest. I'm your host, Ben Robertson, and first off, big thanks to all of you for tuning in here to the page off the last couple of days. As you'll see, I'll be on the go, kind of in and out of the DMV over the next week or two. Appreciate all your support. Do me a favor, hit those like buttons, drop the comments down below, make sure you subscribe, use that code FANARTSBasketball to get 10 when you trade 10. Not much time to do that as the NBA Finals potentially winding down here over the weekend. Happy Friday, though, guys, and I want to talk about the NBA Finals just a little bit, and obviously that's not Wizards specific, but hang in there for just a moment. Bear with me. It's going to lead me to Wizards specific talk. I know we're going to have beef, I guess, next year with Knicks fans. Obviously, Trae Young now in DC, and if they're chanting F Trae Young every time he comes to the Garden, well, I think we kind of have to. You can't be talking about our guy like that, but I found myself kind of weirdly, and honestly weirdly, I think for really not just hoops, but just all of my kind of DC sports fandom, rooting for a New York team here in this series. And first of all, again, just never feel like I'm rooting for New York. And then also have kind of always had, I think most hoops fan, kind of had an affinity or respect for the Spurs. Again, what basketball fan doesn't? But here's why. First of all, just like some of the guys on the team, I mean, just I love me some Brunson, Cat, OG, all seem like good dudes. Obviously, really, really good hoopers. And I have no beef with Wimby, but I do have some fear that while the league does feel like it's kind of going in a parity-driven direction, where kind of maybe out of the dynasty era, any different team could win it any different year. A lot of, I think, just the league structure, the way the teams are built and structured, the rules kind of making it like that. But I think Wimby is the threat to break up that parity and really just kind of, I don't know, build something dominant with San Antonio. The leaps and the steps he's made forward from years 1 to year 2 to year 3, I mean, he's way better than he was as a rookie. And I think, I mean, the numbers might not show it, but I think he's way better than he was in year 2. And he feels like, to me, a player, just the mentality, at least that he's shown us with his comments and just, again, those steps forward. It seems like he's a guy that there's just, if there's a weakness, which maybe it feels like not having like go-to post moves for a 7'4" player. You're taking a couple, one too many pull-up jumpers late in games. It feels like if there is a weakness that's been exposed, that weakness isn't going to stay there for that long. And that's why, I mean, just with the Spurs, I mean, Castle, Harper being so young as well, feels like, again, I know the league has been, it's been a lot of parity over the last, I mean, since the Warriors-Cavs battles, right? There's been multiple teams, I think even, and I know injury derailed the Thunder a little bit this year, but I think about this Thunder group. I think about the Nuggets from a few years ago that we thought, man, this team is going to dominate the league, and then it just didn't really come to fruition. That's what I mean by parity. Again, the Spurs feel like the threat to that, and I'm my New York cheering, if there is any rooting for a New York bunch in this series, is that, hey, we can delay the dynasty by just a year. But I want to stick with New York a little bit, or at least the players on New York, or at least one specific player on the New York Knicks, and that's Jalen Brunson, because I've seen the idea kind of on Wizards shows, on Wizards Twitter, that Brunson's success in leading the Knicks to here, at least this Friday, haven't gotten to the weekend yet, on the brink of a title. His success with New York as a small guard, leading them so deep, giving a lot of DC fans a lot of hope, a lot of excitement. Obviously, newly acquired small guard Trae Young in town to kind of lead things and run the show. I know a lot of you maybe heard Trae's comments on the pivot, says he feels slept on. Also, I thought was notable, said he wanted to be in DC after kind of, the trade talk and the deal with Atlanta. I'm hoping that Trae takes some inspiration, actually, from a Jalen Brunson when it comes to extension talks here this summer. And here's what I mean. I believe the deadline is June 23rd with that player option, the $48 million number for next year for Trae to opt in or out of that with the Wizards. The expectation, I think, based on the reports, have kind of been that he's going to turn that down, and then maybe there's a 3-year, 3-year deal with about $40 million per year waiting on the table for him. I've seen him, I've seen a little bit of pushback over on Wizards Twitter saying, hey, why would Trae take less money than the option? If he has a great year, he could hit the open market. And that's kind of why I'm saying I'm hoping that Trae is taking some maybe inspiration from a Jalen Brunson up in New York. Right now, Brunson at $39 million $1 million per year. And remember, when he took his extension a couple of years ago, he could have waited for the max, but he turned that down, took about $100 million less, and that was so New York could build the roster around him, go out and bring in a cat and have the ability to kind of put together this great team around a Jalen Brunson. And I think we've seen a small guard can very much lead the way here this season with a JB. Obviously, he's their go-to scorer. He's their 26 point per game man, but it's also supplemented by a whole bunch of versatility, both offensively and defensively, around him at both ends. And I feel like when you think about versatility with the Knicks, most people probably thinking, OG, who's had the fantastic series, obviously had the wonderful tip in to make it a 3-1 lead for the Knicks. But I also think about, Karl Anthony Towns. He's obviously shown throughout his career he can step away, he can shoot, he can also score traditionally. And then, hey, in this series, he's shown he can really defend as well. He's worked super hard guarding Wimby on the defensive end. And my point of all that is not at all to discount a Brunson, because I don't think the Knicks are anywhere close to where they're at without him. I just think it all goes together. And again, with that small lead guard, that's kind of the formula to supplement what he can do, what he can give you, 26 points per game, kind of this offensive engine that can propel you at times. And I also think with all those other great players that the Knicks have had, again, the OGs, the Harts, the Cats of the world, they've also just as much benefited from this lightning quick point guard who can kind of go get a bucket or just make something happen at any given time. I want to carry on with the Trae versus Brunson comparison when we come back, though. First of all, though, guys, the playoffs, honestly, at this point, winding down, we've seen it. It's been electric. Remember, on Kalshi, you could have traded every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and every game of this championship series of the NBA Finals. New York was trading at 27% to win the title going in, meaning a $20 trade would have paid out $70 before the series if they won the title, if they win the title now here with that 3-1 lead. Remember, on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in or out of your position for a limited time. Download the Kalshi app and use code FANARTSBasketball to get 10 when you trade 10. KALSHI Kalshi. Trade on anything. I told you I wanted to continue with this Trae Young versus Jalen Brunson comparison here real quick. I'm not going to say Trae is better than Brunson, and I think right now, after watching this finals run and this postseason run from Brunson and watching him the last few years, right, I feel like that would be, most people would say that's a little bit wild, Ben. But if you go back a few years ago, that wouldn't have been a crazy, thing to say. If you go back to the time that, Brunson was in Dallas and kind of hadn't ascended to the superstar status, that wouldn't be crazy to say at all. Remember, these guys came out of the same class. Trae, number 5, obviously the Luka deal, and then Brunson, a second rounder. Trae took that Atlanta team to the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2021, and obviously earned him a whole bunch of New York Knicks fan hate as well. Took game 1 off Milwaukee as well. If you remember that series, remember he had that 48-point outburst, got injured in that series, probably tall task to beat Giannis in the Bucks as well, but kind of showed, hey, a small guard can lead a team on a deep playoff run. But it did feel like at the time, hey, maybe this is the cap. This is the kind of the limit of where a small guard can reach. And I would say, yes, if it's all on that one guard. And I think this Knicks team, if you look at the rosters, way better than who Atlanta was a few years ago. And I just think about those two as players. And again, I told you I just wanted to stick with that comparison just a little bit. I think Brunson probably more efficient. He is more efficient. Just look at the numbers. Probably a little bit more stout, a little bit better of a defender. I would argue Trae is a much better passer and playmaker. I mean, Trae Young is a league leading type of, it can be an 11 assist type of per game type of player. And I think that playmaking, man, it's just gonna blend so well with all this talent around him. Again, we think about AJ Debonsa potentially coming in. You think about Trey Johnson going into year 2, thinking about Keyshawn taking another step forward. And I would say I'll throw another young French big into here as well in Alex Sarr. I'm hoping he takes maybe some of those Wimby steps here. And I feel like we've already seen one of the steps from year 1 to year 2. I've told you guys a whole bunch, even in a tanking season. I was just so much more impressed with who Alex Sarr was as a second-year player than a first-year player. All of these pieces again, with a whole bunch of versatility we talk about all the time with this roster. Will Dawkins has made a priority. And then you have Trae Young. Again, it's this kind of offensive engine that can go give you 25, 26 points per game, and maybe could also give you 10 dimes per game as well. That's not even a maybe. I mean, those have been legit averages different years in Trae's career. Holy cow. It's an exciting formula. And I will say, again, I'm not saying that Trae Young is Brunson. I don't think they're the exact same player, but I do think there's some inspiration to take from what the Knicks have done with Brunson as their lead guard and to what Washington is building. I'm just going to give some quick shout outs here, guys. I'll be back with you for next week, next Monday. We should be rolling again, but just because since it's going to be a couple days off, and these are from a few days ago, just going to shout out Live Ride 59, Comment King, Don't Touch My Silver. We've had you back in the comment section the last few weeks. Good to see you. Multiverse Joe, Dante Payne, a couple of my consistent commenters, the Mitchell Blackman, Frank White, Ty, Make the World a Better Place. I appreciate all of your guys' comments as well. Make sure you guys are all dropping those comments. We'll actually kind of jump into those a little bit more next week, next Monday. So make sure you drop your thought down below with anything you heard or thought about the video. Appreciate all your support here on the page. Once again, you guys, hit those like buttons. Make sure you're subscribed while you're down in that comment section. Big thanks to Kalshi as well for sponsoring today's episode. And big thanks to you for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.